again. We're here 3 nights a week. Monday. No, not Monday. What am I saying tonight? Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 o'clock.
I'm going to need to read the manual on this radio.
Oh, very good. 3 to you, too. Let's see, I got this. Martin. Thanks a lot, Martin. We can really turn down the power here. All the best to you. Have a great weekend.
I don't know for a fact that it goes wider one direction.
I'm so close to South Valley, you wouldn't believe. I'm just on the other side of Newland. Yeah, very good, very good. We're very, very close. Great place to live.
You can never decide what sounds better, but it does get rid of quite a bit of noise. And it doesn't sound like it's underwater. But you have this other crap here, the VRF.
Alright, you take care of 73 again. We'll very close. KN6. Foxtrot. What is that? Delta. There we go. We're a little slow in the head. And listen for check-ins for work. This is Wolf, KJ6JK, Huntington Beach. Barely.
You should cut the noise down too quite a bit. Okay, so let's do that. Yeah, so you get rid of a lot of the noise we use on the VRF. They also have this other button here, the IDBT, which does some kind of ganging of the shift and width, kind of like how the FT102 has them gang together. I don't really know what its exact process is or what it does. But with the shift, moves the IF frequency you're listening to, either low or high. So it kind of gets low that direction and high that direction. But if you do too much on the shift on most radios, it just sounds really bad because you're cutting off a lot of the pass band where the human voice is. But I prefer like how this radio has its shift and width, where it shows me what the width is actually doing. It goes out that way. We can watch the shift. We can see that it's going to the left or the right. It'll tell me how many hertz. And then you have the notch filter and the contour. And that's one thing I really do like about this radio a lot better than this one. There is a contour, but it's kind of like these particular patterns, it's not adjustable. Whereas on this one, it can be adjusted on the contour knob. So, I don't know if I would say one radio is like better than the other as far as receive. They're both really good. One thing I don't like about this radio on transmit is that the S meter is not like reading peak. It's reading RMS. Let me put this on the dummy load and come over here and go into AM. Let's go into FM. It doesn't actually read right either. Let's make sure our tuner is off as well. We have a full 100 watts there. We have about 95 there. But if I go into lower sideband, you just watch my meter here for a second while I test. Hello, test 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, test 1, 2, 3, 4, RMS So if it was peak, it would go up to 100, maybe even a little bit more. So it doesn't do that, and you don't really know how much power you're doing because you're looking at it and you see that it's only like really, really low. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Look, I mean, it's barely even registering, and I'm talking like, I don't know, a few inches away from the microphone. I'm not up on it real close. So I don't think there's a way to change that, but maybe there is. I suppose maybe the calibration is off, but on this radio I don't have that problem. It reads normal. Certain radios, I noticed also my old 920 is the same way. It reads very anemic, and if you see where my voice peaks are on this, well, we come down here and you can see I'm on peak. This is a peak reading watt meter, and it shows basically a couple of spikes over 100. So that would be one thing that I would prefer to have this thing read peak, or the ability to turn it on or off. I can't think of a time where I would ever really want to read RMS, because regardless of what it's set at, if I key up FM or RTTY, 100 watts is 100 watts. We don't need to read peak. It's not going to read, it shouldn't read any higher. But on sideband, we can't read RMS versus peak the same, you know. It's going to look like nothing on RMS. So you would get somebody that would buy this radio and maybe they would test it on sideband and go, oh man, this thing's not putting out full power. Well, it is. You just have to read the output of the radio on a peak reading watt meter, like one with an active peak reading watt meter. I've got this one over here too that I can turn on. I usually leave it off. We get average or peak. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see it right there. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not talking very close, so it's kind of staying kind of low, and every once in a while it'll jump. But if I get the microphone a lot closer, well, then you can see that we're pretty much averaging 100 watts, but the radio is still reading very, very low. And this thing is telling me, well, you're pretty close to maximum output. So it's just kind of annoying. It's a mental thing. It makes you feel like something's wrong with your radio, because most other radios will read full scale, you know, but this one doesn't do that. Anyway, I was on the Warfanet earlier today, and just kind of listening around on there, and talked to Willie. I've known Willie, who does the Warfanet, for a long time, and we all used to talk on 3913, and we all used to talk on 3930. We were actually discussing that, of maybe trying to get the a group going again, people in California, Arizona, and a little mellower attitude from the other groups of people. No amplifier required kind of club, not like some of the other guys where they're just like, they pretend they can't hear you. You know, I won't mention any frequencies, but if you guys have been watching the channel, you might have an idea. I'm sure Analog Brandon over there knows what I'm talking about, and it's really hard for people that are new into ham radio to want to get on HF when they get treated like that by these guys that think they're all that, instead of like reaching out and trying to help these new guys, or guys that just maybe don't have as much time to spend learning about ham radio. Like some of these guys may have had their license for 20 years, but they have a regular job where they're just constantly busy, you know, and they haven't had time to try different antennas or different things, you know. And when you treat people like crap on the radio, what ends up happening is that they don't want to get on the radio, and then you're sitting here going, well, why is there nobody on the radio? Why is nobody on 80 meters at night? Because a lot of people on 80 meters are a bunch of dicks, and they treat people like crap. So people don't want to get on 80 meters. It's not because most people don't have thick skin. It's because nobody willingly wants to be treated like crap for no reason. And unfortunately, that happens a lot on this band, you know. And everybody's always whining about there's not anybody on the radio. Well, take a look at your behavior. Maybe your behavior is why. So anyway, I was talking to Willie on the Wharfanet about that, and maybe we can get some guys in the area and get on 3930 when it's clear. They won't need to have an extra class license, and a little bit shorter of an antenna can get away with operating on 3930. You could probably even tune up an 80 meter, or excuse me, a 40 meter loop or dipole on that band and get it to work okay. But it would be nice to just have a group of guys and get on there and talk about different antenna stuff and radio stuff and test like cheap equipment that you find at a swap meet or Craigslist or QRZ or eBay. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, like, to me, that would be more interesting than the other stuff. Like, you know, somewhere where you can feel safe to talk about stuff on the radio without somebody criticizing, like, whether or not your old radio is drifting a little bit, or your audio, or, you know, I mean, there's plenty of times where I can copy somebody perfectly fine, but they're a struggle to hear, and that's okay. But to some people, they just give them such a hard time, you know, and not everybody wants to spend a bunch of money or has the ability to repair an amplifier, you know. And we just got to stop, like, treating people like crap on the radio. It really doesn't do anybody any good. Even if you find other people annoying, treating them like crap isn't going to change anything. So I think it would be cool to get a group going again, but you know, I don't know. I found that when I used to run the group, I felt like I really had to be on there all the time, and I really didn't want to just like continuously babysit the frequency. And it was really nice. We were talking about Gordon, who passed away, but Gordon would get on there and he would bring other people on there, and he would talk and talk and talk, and he really really did a lot to get the group going. And then, you know, him and some other guys just didn't get along, and then kind of he parted ways because he got a nasty email, and it is what it is. And unfortunately, both of those two guys are not even with us anymore, so it's unfortunate. And the group on 3930 is pretty much dead. I know there are people that get on there, but as far as West Coast area, not really. But sometimes the problem with that frequency is when the band goes long, all of a sudden you've got people on the East Coast, and they'll pretend like they don't hear you also. So there's just a lot of bad operating going on the radio in general. You know, I've witnessed it everywhere, not just like that frequency, where the band goes long. Maybe they've been on there before you were. Maybe you've been on there before you were. But they just continue to talk over a different group of people that are suddenly starting to come in, instead of acknowledging them or anything like that. Or, you know, I mean, how come the people on the West Coast can't, you know, all get together and talk with the guys in the Midwest and the East Coast on the radio at the same time? Like, why does it have to be like our group, your group, you know, our frequency, your frequency? Like, that's just silly. I don't get it. I wasn't raised to think like that, you know. So anyway, but I was just playing around with this radio, and I thought about that because I had talked to Willie just a few minutes prior to this. So anyway, catch you guys later.